All right, we'll get started here in a minute. Get going in a minute here. Let people filter in that want to hang out, and we'll get going. All right. So where are we at here today? We are cleaning up the rest of the presentation, which I pretty much got done. Now I need to finish up the lab. Here's what the presentation looks like. So we did a security engineering course on Saturday, and I owed the guys the end of this presentation. Mostly we just talked about what we were working on. Hold on, let me make this a little bigger for you guys. There you go. Mostly what we ended up doing was we just talked about the components here, and last week was air gap systems and jailing users, and then this week was repos and patching. We built out the repos and then enterprise patching, right? These were the two things that we did. How's it going, Boris, over on YouTube? We are not working too hard today, but we're just kind of doing a little co-working while I wait on some accesses and work on another screen over here. So we're just kind of hanging out. I'm showing you guys some of the stuff I was working on last night. I almost got this all done. I just have to record it now. I'm going to try a new way of kind of recording things. So hopefully that ends up being pretty good. How's it going, Colchis, over on the Twitch side? So this is where we got to basically, and I showed just an overview. We talked about why is control so important for like how we control things coming in or out of our systems. What is fit for use? That is our ability to just check off items. This is like this is the main thing an engineer does is it a wheel? Is it, are there four of them? Do they turn at 60 rotations per minute without, being janky, that kind of stuff. What is fit for warranty is, does the thing operate the way it needs to in the wild, kind of. That's not like checking boxes up here. Fit for use is like when we're doing things as just testing that things exist, right? But fit for warranty is, does it work all the future times when we need it to, right? Like on that 5,000th start, does the system still come up? When the 5,000th user gets in, does it still work, right? That kind of stuff. Oh, you're on your work PC, so you had to use YouTube. Well, yeah, I still appreciate you coming by, Boris. Yeah, Boris, I was hanging out with the wife last night, and we went and did like a 2-mile walk, and then we came back and we were just hanging out in here. So that's when I was writing a lot of this stuff. But we had this part already done, and we talked about why we create a repo locally, so that's we can control what software packages are in that local repo. How do we do it? We're going to do that in the lab. How do we share it over the network? We're going to do that in the lab as well. And then how do we configure our repos? So once we have a repo set up, then we have to configure our devices to go look at them. So we're going to do that in the lab, obviously. And then how does enterprise patching differ from one-off patching of systems? Like we were talking about this, how in your home system, it just asks you one day, would you like to patch and update? And then you hit yes. And then the system either comes up or it doesn't. And well, that's super freaking easy. But what's different in an enterprise system where I have 1,000 Linux boxes? What's the difference there? And then we'll talk a little bit about the life cycle in engineering and how does it relate to patching. So what I've done and what'll be recorded is about the repositories. We can host an ISO or RPM or other package types in a location that our software tools can reference to download and install. Well, we're using RPM as the base because that's what we use in the Red Hat side of things, and that's mainly what the course is in. But it could be a .deb, any of those kind of things. But the point is, they could be locally hosted, or we can remotely host them over the network off of one system, right? So we can touch them in different ways. And in rel style systems, we always have one of these repo md.xml files that define the contents of the directory. And you can make those with a create repo, or if you already have they're already built into like the base CDs. So when we go and look at the components of the CD, we can see all those things, right? And by the way, guys, this is not the recording. I'm showing you guys this. I'm going to do the recording probably tonight. This is a week off between my semesters at college, so I have to do some grading today of the final projects for students, but other than that, I have a fair amount of free time tonight, so I'll probably record that tonight. But anyways, here's kind of how repositories work, right? And I let a chat GPT, well, actually it was Gemini, build out this cool little, so I do have this as ASCII, so if any of you guys need the file, let me know. I actually have this as a file. And this is just my little image of what I allowed it to, what it drew for me from kind of the notes. And it was, you've got your DNF or your Yum package manager. That's what we use in Red Hat. And it reads globally anything that you set in etc dnf, dnf.conf, right? So this is set globally. And then it goes and it reads the repos. So these are the repos that we're going to set up today. Maybe we've got some official Red Hat ones. One of the things we're going to do in the lab is we're going to take all of these and we're going to go stuff them in a closet. It's actually kind of funny to me. We stuff all these in a closet and we make one of our own. So we make our own little repo. This is my internal repo, basically. Just boom. Are any of your students joined Prolog? Oh, Boris, yeah, I have hundreds of students of mine that have. I've had over 5,000 college students, and yeah, I have probably 200 or so that have joined Prolog over the years. Yeah, Boris, I have good friends that are former college students of mine. Yeah. I even have one of the guys that was my college student, a good friend of mine. I've known him now 15 years. He almost 15 years. He had some problems with his girlfriend at the time and he ended up having to stay with me for a little while. This was after he was done. He wasn't my college student anymore at that point, but a good buddy of mine. Yeah, I keep up with all those guys. Yeah, I probably I probably have on social media some maybe 200-300 of my former college students that I keep up with. Yeah. So anyway, so we toss out all these repos and then we've got just the one that we're going to make. And then we're going to have our base URL, which is one of the configuration definitions inside of here. And we're going to post locally to a file. And then we're going to use this mounted ISO that we're going to have. And we're going to make the machine patch itself or install software itself from a local file. And that's cool. With the GPG key path, we can prove that things are signed correctly in the repo and everybody's happy and good. But then down here, we get to where the DNF package manager reads and stores all the metadata out of there. Remember I said there's that repo md.xml file. That'll all get stored down here for each repo. And this is kind of how a repository works from a high level. Now, I'm one of these guys, we were talking about this the other day. Some people want to see it like this. They want to see do this point, that point, that point. Some of us just want to touch the thing and do the lab and walk through it and go, okay, I understand how that works. Oh, and then I see the component pieces here. And for me, it's almost like this right here would look like Greek. Like, okay, yeah, I get it. There's these tools. But if I've touched it, and I've built a repo, which we do in the lab, then I can kind of slide that down and go, okay, I get that part because we took these all away. I get that directory because we were in that directory moving these all out. And then we made our own and we defined these things. Oh, that's cool. I understand that. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I don't like intuitively understand this stuff just by looking at a diagram. I'm a big fan of like touching it with my hands and kind of understanding it that way. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Everybody learns differently, but there's certain things that we have commonalities with, and one of them I think is being able to place pieces we've touched with like a diagram like this. So all right, so then we didn't get to this part in the lab when I was talking with you guys on Saturday, But patching in the enterprise, right? It presents these unique problems. Everybody here's probably patched a desktop before. And when you patch that desktop, it says it's good, and then the system comes back up, and then we're happy, and it's, whatever. But there's these other challenges when we start to try to hit a bunch of systems. Maybe we have an incomplete inventory, so now we're not patching all our systems. Yeah, Boris, I'm a big fan of, like, once I see something, once I've touched it with my hands, like I understand it a lot better than any amount of school, like sitting there learning, for sure. Although I do prefer sitting in a classroom over like reading and watching videos and stuff, but that's just probably me. I also take physical notes too, so I'm probably late in that regard. I like writing things out, but an incomplete inventory will screw you over. Multiple machines with any number of unknown states. I mean, your desktop is probably in a working state when you hit the button, but maybe some of those machines are down. Maybe some of are not available over SSH, even if you have a good inventory. So that can cause you problems. Systems might be pointing to bad repos or old repos, and you don't want them pulling externally. So that's a problem. That's something we probably have to check. And then patching introduces all kinds of new variables and instability in a system. That's not the popular part to talk about with patching. When we patch something, there's always new instabilities and new problems that come up. They've tried to make sure that it, and hopefully you in the enterprise try to make sure that that doesn't come up. But there's always introduced newer vulnerabilities. So, and some of those we want to test out before they get to the customer facing environments. So we do them in lower environments. So then I let Gemini draw this out for me again of how we patch in the enterprise. And it's like, all right, you've got all these vendors and different people out there, Red Hat, Oracle, Microsoft, or hell, even if you have like in our lab, we touched Mellanox, and Mellanox is from NVIDIA, so it's the OFED drivers. And we sync the download to a centralized place, right? Maybe a satellite or some kind of internal repo. You could use Pulp or some other tool. And then maybe you analyze the risk. Not a lot of people sit around and analyze every single impact and every single CVE. What most of us do is we just have a cadence for this. Like this syncing download is going to be the first of every month into a life cycle that goes for that month, right? And then the first place that we're going to release it to tends to be to like a dev environment or a lower environment of some point, right? And what we'll do is a smoke test. Smoke test is you turn it on and does any smoke come out of it? Does the system continue to work? Then we maybe do some regression testing and validation of our software and stuff, make sure no issues are found, and then we just let that bake in for typically about 2 weeks. This is about a 2-week process right here for bigger companies. I used to run, I had about 3,500 Windows machines and about 1,500 Linux machines. And in my dev environment, I had about 900 Linux machines, and we would just let them bake in for a while. The reason you have to let them bake in for a long while and not just accept the test is because none of your systems are doing anything under load there. They're not taking the weight. You test it and you make sure that the Java app still comes up, and our company was heavily Java devs. So, I'm just running a Linux form, but nothing's happening under load. So then, we need to do this and let this sit for a while, and then maybe even have them do some testing of their systems. But for us on the Linux platform side, we want to make sure that the systems are stable. Still running the software, still having everything going. And then we can deploy that patch baseline forward to like a test or QA environment and do the same thing. This tends to be the third week of every month for me in my example. So we download things, we immediately drop them into dev for 2 weeks. In the third week, we send them to testing QA. This is where they're going to get that same app team builds and QA personnel all over them. But again, you can't simulate load. This is one of the things it's so difficult. There's no way to simulate the 1,000 or 10,000 people that are about to come in through that system. Hold on a second real quick, guys. I got a call from a student. Hold on. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had a or one of my students call me, and he was having a hard time turning something in, which makes sense because it was it was down. Yeah, the CrowdStrike thing, man. I'll tell you what. I was in a call that week, right after they did that, and I was talking to a government customer, and they were like, "Yeah, we need you guys to open up this so that we could put CrowdStrike and this other thing on there, but mainly because of the fact that you guys are using stateless images, we need to be able to always let them update their stuff in real time and then have it be stateful." And we're like, "You guys didn't learn your lesson from like a billion machines around the globe going down? Like that is an insane amount of like they should not exist as a company anymore after that. But they do. They do." All right, anyways, so um yeah, that fact, the fact that they treat people's production environments like their test grounds and people didn't leave them and didn't sue them into oblivion, I don't understand. I literally don't understand. You're not a security company if you don't take availability seriously. Like I mean, what? So, anyways, all right. Anyways, so that's a tangent. So now we get to the baseline, and then now we go into our maybe pre-prod and do some testing and validation, and then we go down into our production environment. And it says here, apply patches carefully. That's going to be a big part of our lab this week, which is how we apply those patches. Verification and monitoring, are there issues found? And then post-patch reporting, and is there a compliance audit and that kind of stuff. And then the patch cycles complete, or we roll back if there's severe issues. We have to have that planned because it's not easy to roll back servers. It might be easier to roll back some software, but it's not easy to roll back servers, especially not thousands of them in one night. And you might say, "Oh, what about like snapshots?" Yeah, but snapshot ESXi is not designed to roll back 1,000 or 1,500 snapshots in one night. Like that's gonna take time, a lot of time. And if it's customer facing, you're experiencing downtime at that point. So that's definitely not what we want. All right, anyway, so here's our review. Those are all the things we talked about. Again, we're not doing this right now. I'm just showing you guys that part's all done. So I'm going to take that. I'm going to move that off the side. This will be recorded later when we do the recording for that. And then the other part that I have to finish actually comes from these right here, which are, these are our actual, the lab. So I have a new lab set up. It's going to be out in, where the heck is that? I don't even know. Yeah, it's Ansible Enterprise Patching. So I've got this lab about halfway done, so that's going to be the other thing I'm going to be building. Yeah, Chris, I can tell you that backups taking as long as 6 months is absolutely atrocious, but it's possible. I would tell you that most companies, like, they'll set up their backup system and then they will call it good, but you don't really have a full disaster recovery system in place until you've got other parts too. You got your business continuity plan and your prioritization and your reporting and your escalation and all that stuff. But also, until you've actually pulled data back, you have not completed the disaster recovery part of any plan. Like, people will be like, "Oh, I sent the data off," and it's like, well, can we remove the data and bring it back? That's a big part of this. So that's like the last test case, and it should be, there should be SLAs around it. And typically, like for me on tape, I have to be able to get tape data off of offline tape, that's sitting in a data center, typically in under 24 hours, but maybe 48 hours if there's like a turnaround time, like you're going to have your minimum items and that kind of stuff. So like if it takes Iron Mountain 18 hours to get it back to you, it could take something like that. They hadn't updated anything in 20 years. Well, there's always a thing called the free cell problem too. That's what I call it. If you guys have ever played the game Free Cell, you only have so many spots to move cards with. It's typically 4 and then the one in your hand, so you can move 5 cards at a time. And it's the same thing with like tape drives. When you're moving data in or out of a tape system, you only have the number of drives that you have. Now you might say, "Oh, but I have 30,000 tapes." And I go, "Yeah, but you only have 2 I/O ports. You only have 2 ports for those tapes to come in." It would be like if you had 30,000 cargo ships waiting in a harbor and only 2 places to unload them from. It doesn't matter how fast you can back up and how fast you can get those 30,000 back if the most you can ever process is one tape an hour, for whatever data's on it. So my point is, and I tell people this, you trickle data out over time to your tape systems. You have to understand and think about how easy it is to get data back off of it, right? Yeah, you throw more tapes at it and that's wonderful, yeah. But it's like data still trickles out, and then now you want to pull it back in fast, and that's not easy. So that is a thing to consider. Also, I've seen companies completely move their hardware up and not be able to read their older tapes. That's always a thing you need to consider. Let's say you're on like LTO 4 tapes and you go to an LTO 7, 8, 9 system and you're like, oh, this is all modern. But you decommission the old one before you pull. Because one of the things you have to do, and again, this is back to that free cell problem I always talk about, you have to pull all the tapes back in, pull all the data off of those 300 LTO 4 tapes you have, and go drop it on like 7 or 8 LTO 8 tapes that you have, because there's that much less space now needed. Yeah, if you guys if you don't know what I'm talking about, like the game Free Cell, this is what I always call the free cell problem, right? Free Cell is this game. I don't want to play it online. I just want to look at an image of it. But you have, when you go to play it, let me see if I can open image in a new tab. This is how the game is played. You've got your cards, and you've got these 4 free cells that you can move things. These cells are where the aces go, right? So aces go up here, and you start to stack your cards out. But let's say you wanted to move. You can only move things with color order, so there's not really anything here that can move right now. But you could move the 2 up to here, and then you could take the 4 and the 3, and if you had a red 5, you could go move them onto it. Well, they're already there. So if we had a 6, we could move it on. But the movement of it isn't just that you can move all 6. You have to have, or all 3, you have to have the space to do it. So 2 of them would technically go up here, and then you would move the 5 on the 6th, and then those 2 would come down. So you would have 1 free space left, right? So free cell is an excellent way for me in my head to think about like how storage systems work. Because I deal a lot with big storage systems and how we move stuff around. So that's just kind of a thing. Yeah, but anyways, we're hanging out today. We're just kind of co-working. I'm working in another screen as well, and just kind of hanging out with you guys. And I'm gonna finish that lab up today. The lab itself is almost done, but I do have to go and finish the thing that it downloads. So it downloads from a Git repository. And then it does, you have to do the work in the lab, but should be pretty good. I'm almost done with it. I just have to do the last few parts. So if anybody's got any questions or wants to know anything about what we're doing around here, let me know. But this is kind of what I'm working on for today. Also, I found out how to crop in OBS my video. So while I'm not really doing my hold on real quick. I'm actually super happy with, like, I can crop my video now, and like I can I don't have to have my green screen nearly as close to me. It can be way back, and I've cropped the video down so it's just me, even though the camera wants to go real wide, but you can crop it down. I figured out how to do that. I mean, it's like only been doing this stuff like 4 years. I should have known how to do that long ago probably, but I was watching this YouTube video and somebody was showing this other thing. Actually, it was this other filter, and she just happened to mention this crop filter, and I was like, it's called crop padding, and I was like, God damn it, I should have known that. Anyways, we're just co-working, so I don't normally co-work with my camera on, but if anybody needs me for anything to explain something with my hands or something, I can do it. Anyway, so I do like that when I am back live and actually streaming, not just co-working on other stuff. I will do my recordings with that, and I think the camera looks a lot better when you crop it like that. You don't have all that other noise everywhere. How's it going, Vivana, over on the Twitch side? We are just hanging out right now. I'm working on some other stuff in another screen, and just kind of, not working too hard. Listen to some chill music. I had a student call me a minute ago because he needed a grade turned in, but other than that, it should be good. Glam, you're about to move your streaming PC to Linux. Was stoked at how many OBS plugins worked with Linux. Yeah, a couple of our guys stream only off of Linux, and it seems to work pretty good for them. Yeah. I know Fisherman streamed completely off of it, and I'm pretty sure that that's how Sending Ground streams as well, is off of Linux boxes. But some guys are like, here's the thing, guys. Like, I think that we got to sometimes be honest. We love doing Linux, but we have to sometimes be honest about how there are things that other programs do better. Like, and when I say that, like Microsoft does better Active Directory than us, right? They do better email client. Like the Outlook email client is just a better client. Anyways, where I'm going with that is Linux has been fantastically bad the entirety of my career at desktop. It has. Like, I've only ever worked with, I've told you guys, like, when the Red Hat guys would come out, they would always have Fedora desktops. And Fedora is, upstream of Red Hat desktops for sure. But no, I've never even seen a Red Hat guy run a Red Hat desktop. They always use Fedora. And that's fine. That's fine. It's just we need to know limitations. So, anyways, yeah, some things are where I'm going with that is one of the reasons a lot of people don't run Linux desktops is because the other things don't work. And I know like gaming was a big thing, but I guess it's getting better because I guess Steam Deck is all Linux, is my understanding. So it's supposed to be getting better, but. Well, Glam, I'm not saying just in Microsoft. I'm saying better, period. And that's not subjective. That's objective. Around the world, literally 98% of all companies use Active Directory for their usage of users and stuff. You go to AWS, who directly competes with Microsoft in Azure space, and AWS still uses an Active Directory, even though that's their competitor. Well, yeah, Microsoft. It's weird. Obviously, Microsoft would make Microsoft products. That's weird. Control by, are you telling me you don't find joy in dealing with sound drivers not working? No. Guys, when I used to run Ubuntu, like this was like Ubuntu 6 back in the day as a desktop, and I did that all through college. You couldn't play games on it. It was so bad. And some people don't want to work on stuff when they're home and all that stuff. Anyways, neither here nor there. My point is I will use any tool to get the job done from a production and working with like customers type standpoint, right? I'll use any tool. But mostly as an engineer, I do Linux, right? Because that's where I derive the most joy from, obviously. I've heard good things about Proton. I've heard good things about all that stuff in general. So, yeah, and I only have a few simple games I like to play anyways, so. It's not like I don't play all the first-person shooters anymore. And when I did play first-person shooters, I was playing them on Xbox, so. And if you said Xbox, why Xbox instead of PlayStation? Everybody in my office already had Xboxes, and I was like, all right, I'll buy one and play with you guys. So that was back when I used to play Destiny. I never played second Destiny, only the first one. But Linux Mint and Pop both come ready to go game out of the box. Nice. I haven't played with them. Most of my Linux deploys lately have been all Rocky. I've done some Ubuntu ones for customers. I'm going to be doing, I've shown you guys this. I'm going to be doing some Debian. Where do I have it? I know I have it out here. These are our options. So these are our options in the home lab here. Currently, I just run Werewolf Rocky because that's simple for people. But if we wanted to do Debian, if we wanted to play with Debian and again, this is server space, right? We could do Debian, we could do Leap and Tumbleweed, which are SUSE. We could do Alma Linux if we wanted. We won't, out of principle, I won't do Werewolf CentOS because if CentOS isn't going to be supported going forward, I'm not going to. One of my things, like when we talk about like the professional Linux users group, is it's not that I have any problem with CentOS. It's just a dead There's no reason, you can't get repos, you can't update, you can't do any of these things that you need to do in the enterprise. So I'll move, I'll stay away from this. But our stuff, our stuff in the home lab here and the professional Linux user group lab is all Rocky Linux. But if people want to try Debian or Leap, Tumbleweed, and I forget the difference. These are both OpenSUSE, but I think Tumbleweed is the older one and Leap is the newer one. But somebody would have to check that for me. I don't know that right off. And Alma Linux, I have no problem with Alma Linux. In fact, I just found out a couple days ago we were talking about it. Alma Linux is supported. So once you have the ability to actually get support, you could use Alma Linux in like a government system. And the context we were talking was over. They were in the European space. The Europeans are using Alma Linux in their what is it, CERN, like the CERN high-speed networking and all the research data type stuff, all that. So. Vicarious said, ls command, when you need to do more complicated directory file filtering, do you use ls to hit most of your bases, or do you reach for another tool? Filter by date, regex name, limit 10. Vicarious, I mean, it depends exactly what I'm searching for, but ls has always been fine for me. I mean, I can ls. Yeah, you can ls-lt capital R, I think, will filter by date. You can regex a name with grep. You can limit to 10 with it. Yeah, I mean, I would just pipe out ls to whatever I needed. Yeah. I mean, I've never in my career come across a problem where ls didn't do at least the base portion of it. There might be tools that do better stuff. You guys will find that I'm very vanilla about stuff. I just do the things that work. Mirage said, isn't Alma better than Rocky for prod environment? I would say better is a question of what you're trying to do. And if you're saying like, let's just say an enterprise that has a risk profile that says I need to have somebody that I can pay. I need to have some, person that supports this. Until just the other day, I thought Rocky was the only one that had it. So Alma Linux probably can support it, but all the government projects I've done have been using Rocky because of the fact that they trust CIQ and they've gone through the process. When you say better, you always have to describe the metric you're going to use, right? And I don't, Alma was fine. I've built Alma in the home lab here a few times. It was years ago on stream, but I mean, it works fine. We just ended up going with Werewolf or Rocky because it's the same company that runs Werewolf, and Werewolf is the way that we do all of our cluster management in the lab here. So. Yeah, and I thought that Rocky was binary compatible with RHEL. I was pretty sure of that, but I wasn't 100% sure. But yeah, most government projects that I work on, we use Rocky. And then I just found out again the other day that people are using Alma over on the other side of the pond from the U.S. CERN where's CERN at? Somebody probably knows. Was it, I don't know, Switzerland or something like that? My understanding, though, we were looking at their page a little bit. They use mostly Alma over there for their research stuff, which is fine, right? Linux is just the platform. You got to have the right tooling on top of it, obviously, for most of this other stuff. Well, Rocky is supported on the back end by a company called CIQ. And then I actually have contacts with some of those guys because we were doing. So I was working at a college. So I worked for a company called Redline, and then they loaned me out to different companies. And I was working for a college for a year, building up their high performance compute team. And they were going to. They were all Red Hat, but they were going to the cluster management of Werewolf as opposed to XCAT. So XCAT's a way that so any of these things are like how, I'm just in this environment here. How do you define your nodes? How do you configure your nodes to come up? Are they stateful or stateless? How do we, like, if I was gonna um, like Rocky one, how would I define him? How would I say what that node is doing? That kind of stuff. This is kind of the stuff that a cluster manager does, right? And then there you go. Well, Mirage, you're free. I'm not telling you you can't use Alma Linux. You use whatever you want. I'm just going to tell you that you have to, if you're going to use it professionally, right? Like if an enterprise is going to use it, anytime the enterprise relies on somebody else, there has to be like a risk profile. And the enterprises I tend to work for, if we're calling them enterprises, are government entities. So when I work with a government entity, they say we need somebody, and a lot of times it's heavily skewed towards American companies because it's an American government, right? And it's like, hey, you need to have somebody to call. You need to have somebody to set engineers to work high priority on a problem if we have it. And Rocky Linux is the one that has won that out in the U.S. for sure with the government. So I'm a big fan of using whatever you want. I tell you guys all the time, you're never gonna see me like tell you guys how to set up your dot files. I'll show you where dot files are. I'll show you how dot files work. I'll never tell you how you have to use them, like because I'm like guys, I'm the most vanilla guy I know from like a VI and Vim standpoint. I don't have 30,000 plugins that I have to merge when I go somewhere else. I can just you can drop me in any environment. That's what I've been doing for years is I get dropped into different customer environments and fix stuff. So yeah. But I'll just tell you, like, I didn't make any of the decisions. I'm just going to tell you that Rocky is what's kind of won in the U.S. government space. I've never seen Alma deployed. I've seen more Ubuntu deployed than I've seen Alma. So the major one, if I had to lay them out right now, Red Hat is still the biggest. But for recent deployments in like the last 2 years, because I've deployed 10 supercomputers in the last few years to government, every single one of them was on Rocky Linux. But ones that I've supported over my career were a fair amount of SUSE. Let me take that back. Of the 10, one of them was SLES. So SUSE Linux Enterprise Server. So that would have been either Leap or Tumbleweed. But again, I can't remember which one of these is the newer one. One of these is the newer version, and one of them's one back. Let's go look. I might say it right here. OpenSUSE, so that should be 15 then. I don't see it. Tumbleweed, what's the difference? Yeah, I don't have it. Huh. They're still publishing these, by the way. We could add one of these right now. We could boot. One of the nice things about how these nodes are set up is we could go take one of these. We could even define an Alma node and then just pull this down and run Alma Linux on it right now. Right. So, yeah, CentOS is dead. I can't even patch my my main jump box. I can't even patch him anymore right now. He's CentOS 7, so he's aging off. I need to update him. In fact, that's part of my. I don't have this drawing, but that's part of my lab environment drawing. Is I need to update that. So yeah, core wired scientific links. I used to use that back in my lab back in the day, but that's another one of those ones that I never saw it get picked up by anybody. So. Like I'll tell you guys, like I'm not like a snob on like what I use. I'm not like, oh, you got to do it this way, but I will when people ask me like, hey Scott, what should I be doing? I will almost always guide them over towards like RHEL and Rocky and Ubuntu because those are the ones that you're gonna find the most jobs for, right? Like I try to move you guys. Like if somebody tells me, and this is my standard canned response. People will be like, Scott, I don't do a single bit of Linux right now. I need to get into it. Should I use Arch? And I say yes, please use Arch. Do anything you can to get into a command line right now. But then if you told me, hey, I've been using it for 3 or 4 years, I can't find work. I'm like, using all Arch, and I tell everybody on that line, and I love it. And I'd be like, that's awesome. Is that all over your resume? And they're like, yeah. And you're like, well, okay, I'm not trying to shit on it. It's just you're pretty good at Linux, but you're not good at the Linux that the company wants to pay you to do. So do you see how maybe in that, and I'm saying this generally, not to any of you, but I'm saying, like do you understand that like the company needs a solution to a problem that's well defined, and you're saying I don't know how to deal with that problem. I'm dealing with this other one all the time. So, oh, the cheat sheet one? Yeah, it's right here. The Vim one? Yeah, somebody gave me this a while back. This is really good. So I just left it up because anytime we talk about stuff, I try to give you guys, I leave it up here so we could talk about it. Yeah, but the cheat sheet, this is a Vim cheat sheet. And actually, when you zoom out a little bit, you see how it goes to like a much cooler looking format. But yeah, this was really cool. And I was like, well, I don't know all the Vim shortcuts for sure. And I don't ever plan on learning them all, but I can at least get a little better at some of the visual block stuff. So I was like, all right, I'll play with that a little bit. So I left that up because we were talking about it. But yeah, hopefully that's useful for you. Can I zoom out on these without affecting these other ones? Oh yeah, look at that. There's our those are our course books that the guys have been putting together. There's people that work a whole bunch in the behind the scenes to make sure that this stuff is more digestible to you guys. And we have 2 courses, one's in systems administration and one's in security engineering. And the guys have been doing a really good job of putting those books together and stuff. So those come from the labs and stuff that we do. In fact, I owe the guys Unit 5. We're in Unit 5 right now, but I also owe the guys Unit 5 stuff. So, how's it going, Leith? You getting ready for your interview, or did that already happen? I don't know. You might be East Coast, and you might already be done. Nice. You got the jitters. You got the old You got that all knocked out, Leith. That's good. Good. Yeah, it's always best to be done with that kind of stuff. Like, even if I feel really confident when I get in there, it's just stress, and yeah, you're like, oh, what am I using the right words, and you want to have good impact. So yeah. So Leith, I'm going to tell you, I got a buddy, one of the guys that comes and talks to the group every now and then, Jared. I've known him since like 7th grade. We've been good friends, and he'll call me up and tell me, oh yeah, I just got a raise, or oh, I just got a bonus, or whatever. And I'm like, yes, what is our raise? How is our bonus going to be this year, right? So I always tell them how is our bonus this year? I'm going to tell you the same thing. Tell us how our job, our new job is going, and tell us what kind of. Nah, you don't got to tell us none of that stuff. But that's a little joke that me and Jared always do. And Jared does really well for himself. He's a data. I guess technically he's called an architect right now, but he does like Google Analytics and stuff. He talks at Measure Camp, so. More of a conversation. The stress just disappeared. I hope I did well. Yeah, Leith. I'll tell you, if you get conversational a lot of times with people like that, they probably already like some of your answers, and that's good. When I came back over to this NOAA project, they already knew me because I had helped build the system years ago. But I told the wife after, it was an hour-long conversation. We just sat there and talked. They never asked me a technical question. They were like, the one guy, Marty, that was on the call with me, he's kind of like the team lead from the company that we're subbed under. And he goes, I told the wife later, I was like, me and him have worked for like 18 plus hours on a call trying to fix stuff before. That guy knows the way that I think about things and the way that I work through things. There's like not much he could have asked me that he wouldn't have already known from working with me. And we're not talking just like 1 or 2 times. We're talking like Marty and I worked late on stuff often when I was with the team before. So it was just basically like them just bringing me back to the team, just giving me a jersey. So, has anyone worked on making custom bash scripts to do automation like installing Nginx and Tomcat server? Yeah, Mirage, we have a fair amount of that. There's actually one of the guys that's in here right now, Colchis. He runs a group in our Discord that goes and practice that kind of stuff. If I was doing Nginx and Tomcat, I would probably deploy all of that with Ansible, at least for me. But it would also depend how many times I was going to do it. Like if I was just going to do it once for like a team as a one-off, I might just go install it for them, like just go run the individual commands. But if I knew like this team was like, hey Scott, we're setting this up. This is going to be our dev environment. After we test out these things, then we're going to need like 4 more environments. And oh shoot, we're probably going to be rebuilding this one a couple times a day. Oh, I would 100% go write a playbook for it. It'd be super super easy little playbook. And yeah, I think that's the kind of thing that I would do. And Bash scripts are fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I'm just telling you, when you go to do it, like especially at scale, so the way I always describe it is Bash is excellent for doing any set of things you need to do, right? Bash is like Ron Burgundy. It will read anything you put on that teleprompter. It'll just do things, and Bash is great for that. But there's like a scaffolding around Ansible that I like, that I don't have to. So I can even, like, I've shown you guys this before, right? Like I can just be on a box, right? And I can say, okay, I know that I have these servers, so I can say for server in I'm old school, so I'll use backtick sequence 1 to 19, do SSH, let's say Rocky $ server uptime, right? And then done. So I can do this real quick, and I can just go hit all the nodes real quick in my cluster with Bash, and that's cool. But that's like me building my own for loop, and then I have to control anything. Like, and if there's an error, it's just gonna fail. But with Ansible, I have the scaffolding around it, and I could use Ansible, and I already know that I have these defined. So I have Rocky defined -m shell -a, uptime, let's say. And now with Ansible, I can do that same thing, but as I go to do it as not just an ad hoc like this, but as a playbook, I have a tremendous amount of other things that are already in the backpack. There's this whole like tool set that I open up, and instead of just like here, I just had a hammer and I just like did this thing. And this is, by the way, this is wonderful. I use this for one-offs on shit all the time. And I can, instead of generating this list, I can read it. I can read what server is out of a file. You give me a list of 10 servers you need me to check. Super easy. Just cap the file right here. Drop the word server in. Boom. Right. But with Ansible, I've got all this other stuff I can do, and I can report back, and I can stamp stuff on the server, and I can this is like I have my whole little. If you guys remember the old character Felix the cat, I got like the Felix the cat little magic bag of all this stuff I can do with Ansible. So the reason there's a big cult of Ansible is that you can just use this tool to like hit all your servers and pull things and do all this. And I will never shit on Bash. I think Bash is great. I think it's how we interact with the system. For cheap and dirty one-offs, I will use this stuff all day. You will see me do this even nowadays when I'm hitting stuff. But when I have to sit down and like plan it out and make it good and pretty and show it to the other engineers, or like make it something production ready, I do mostly use Ansible. Just so you guys know. Probably, I'd say Ansible's probably 95% of my time on that now. Oh, can I still do stuff in Bash, and do I still reuse stuff? Sure. And Bash is great for one-offs. Like if I had to go change all of their time or something with like a date command to like sync their time before I restart NTP, I could do that all right here, right? I could just do, uptime date to set whatever I needed to set for the actual date or whatever, and then maybe a systemctl restart like NTP or something, or croned or whatever, whatever I was doing. I could run that on the system, and it would go hit all the systems, and there would be no error checking and no error controls, and I'd have to watch it because I wouldn't know anything else except for what I saw happen. But it's fine. It's fine for what it is. Right, host name, boom. Just go tell me who you are and pop your stuff up. So there's a lot of ways to do stuff, right? There's always the quick and dirty, like operational. Like, and I tell you guys this, like we try to, as engineers, I want to do things as crisp and clean and concise and perfect as I can. There's actually the 4 C's of technical writing, which is being concise, being clear, being correct, and then being coherent, right? Like going from point A to point B correctly, that kind of stuff. If I'm doing something that has to be persistent and is going to have my name on it, cool. But then there's like the admin operational side of things, and that's what that admin course is about. It's like a lot of the stuff we do down there is like, man, the thing fell over. We got to get it back up. And if I had some cart that had fallen over because it had, like, a wheel had fallen off, we would all go push on the side of the cart, get the wheel out from under it, lift it up, put the wheel back on, and then we would go. We would not sit around for 6 hours and think of the best way to do that. We would just go fucking manhandle it and do it, right? That's kind of how I think of Bash. It's just the quick and dirty, get the system operationally back up. And then when I'm thinking about things and being like as prim and proper as possible, and I want to do 1,000 machines and stuff, that's when I play my Ansible cards, right? And I spend more time with that, if that kind of makes sense. So, have you played with Hatan, this fun little command runner that I've used in my home lab? I haven't played with Just. What is that? Is that a tool? Just open source? Is this it right here? I have not used this. I don't know what it is. Oh, well, sure. Whatever, you can have all the cookies. Oh, it's something else? What is it? Oh, God, if he's tied to it. I don't know. And all the kings, man, could never get this cert. That's funny. Hold on. Glam, you might have to drop that in the Discord. I don't think it'll, like, I don't have it set. You put a GitHub. Is the GitHub for it? So hold on. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, just a command runner? Is this it? Huh. Interesting. It'll also do your PowerShell, it looks like, too. Oh, it'll do all kinds of things. Interesting. Yeah, I've never played with it. I've you can use it with GitHub Actions. That's nice. I feel like this. I shouldn't say I feel like. I'm looking at this. I wonder, is this heavily like? Are programmers using this a lot? Are devs using this a lot? This seems like it would be a really awesome dev tool. I'm not saying I can't use it on the server side of things. I definitely could. I just this seems like it's heavily for like my dev guys, right? My guys that go and build small but mighty command runner tool that's used to automate things on the fly. Yeah, no, I like that. That's there's a lot of things that are like beating around the edge of like knocking Jenkins off of being, the king. I don't know that Jenkins is still the king, but in a lot of enterprises still use Jenkins for a lot of shit, and because of the things it can integrate with and all that stuff. But yeah, this looks like an interesting little diddle. It looks like it's got some interesting possible uses. I'll leave that up. Leave that up as something to look at. Just. So I like this in the morning core work. Yeah, Take Crease. Yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out, and I'm actually working on a different monitor. We're just kind of, I wanted to have a time to kind of just meet and connect with people that wasn't just me talking. I mean, it wasn't just me like teaching stuff like I normally am doing late at night. Yeah. So yeah, we're just kind of hanging out. The thing that I've been, so I was showing earlier, I got this done. So, oh, did I close it? Hold on, let's go. I got this part done. So, this out of the way. This is ready to go for when I am going to record this. We'll be recording this. This was from Saturday session. So this is ready to go. I think it looks pretty good for what I want to show everybody. And then now I'm finishing the last part of the lab, which is the pushing. I got to push that all up to what's it called? Killer Coda, because that part of the lab will be in Killer Coda. Yeah. This is good. Yeah, T. Crease, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm trying to just have a time where we can kind of hang out and listen to music. I've told you guys before, like, I'm definitely a madman. Like, I don't need music. Even when I was younger and I was like a very avid runner when I was in the military, I used to run probably about 45, 50 miles a week, and 45 to 50 miles a week, not 4,550 miles. Um, and I didn't need music. Like, people are like, you don't need like an MP3 player. I'm like, no, I can just be alone with my thoughts. So when I do hang out with you guys and have music on, that's a one-off for me. I can kind of just sit here. Although I do like, I'm very much a madman. When I do sit around, I sometimes will have Twitch open, and I'll sometimes watch people play Dead by Daylight. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen Dead by Daylight, but it's a game that I've never played. I have no interest in playing it. It's an asim horror game where it's asymmetric, where one killer tries to chase down four survivors, right? And it's just funny because like I could just have that up in the background and just hear yells and screams every now and then as the killer catches people and hangs them on meat hooks. It's pretty funny. It's funny to me. I mean, I get that that's probably morbid to everybody else, but for some reason to me that's amusing. So I'll sometimes have that on in the background. But yeah, no, my normal workflow, I can work in like total silence, so it's kind of funny. Glam, I have never used JMX. I don't even know what that is. Never used it. Oh, I love Rossberger, man. I was hanging out in Rossberger earlier. Yeah, I was hanging out in his stuff earlier. I also hang out in Running Man's spot a lot. Running Man is one of the guys I've been kind of hanging out with. No, so almost all of my Java maintenance, right? So I've done a fair amount of supporting devs in Java, but they always had virtual machines. They were never when I was working with them, they were not yet using all of the they were not doing containerization. However, my brother, who still works over at AAA, I was the program, not the program. I wasn't in charge of programs. I was the platform engineering lead, right, for over Linux and Windows, about 5,000 total machines. We did about 200. We had about 200 dev teams that did Java, but we weren't doing a lot of containerization yet, or we weren't doing it well. My brother now, he's been running OpenShift for him for the last 6 years. So it's actually kind of funny that like I helped set up OpenShift, but my brother's been maintaining it and running it for him, and they just they're probably all containerized Java now, but I don't know any of that. I went back over to high performance compute, and high performance compute we almost 100% of the time do bare metal systems. Go stand up 4,000 bare metal systems in a data center, and it's like, okay. And then what we do for that, if anybody's ever wondering what that process kind of looks like, we get them all racked and stacked. Sometimes I have hands that do that. I'm not always the one that's racking and stacking servers, although sometimes I still get to do that. I was racking some stuff the other day for a tool called Vast. I was helping the guy who came down to deploy it from their company, but I still had to be in the data center putting it into our systems, right? And then what happened was, what happens is you say, well, then what happens? You power all these boxes up and they're not configured. Yeah. So what you do is you power them up. They're not configured. You typically scan the network for all of their, typically when things come from a factory, you'll get like a base config that is designed for IPMI. And what we will typically do is we'll know what their IPMI and we'll know what their network location is, or where their rack location is. And what we can do then is we can find them via the MAC address. So we'll validate that the MAC address and all the nodes are like they are. A lot of times, like from the factory, they will already have configured. If we know we're standing up like 4,000 nodes, we would know what the nodes are. But even if we didn't, we could find them all through a tool like basically you're doing ARP over the network and you're finding all of the MACs. And then you assign them. You do the same thing that like my Werewolf does here, where we would assign them to the nodes. Now, typically, like I said, we know what the hardware is and where it is in the rack first, so that when we're doing this, we're really just validating like Rocky 1 at rack 1 of whatever cluster we're doing at U1 through 3, right? So the first, U's at the bottom of the server, or rack 1 and U1 and 2 is this Mac, and he's this. And then once we do that and we configure him inside of Werewolf, it's simply turning the machine off and turning it back on, and then he will automatically build himself as a Rocky. He'll do IPMI and all that stuff. And you say, well, what if he's not set to go? What if he's set to go to his disks? Well, most systems are actually set to boot disk first and then network second. But if they're not, what we would do is we would go in and blanket through the IPMI to say, hey, all these nodes that weren't set right coming out of the factory, set them all. And there's simple IPMI commands. There's a tool called IPMI tool. So it looks like this. And, it's got a little... We just use IPMI tool right here. Super easy to use. You just point it at whatever systems you have. You can even use certificates for your IPMI management, but most people use passwords because that's not really a big part of your management. And it's not really a big security concern because IPMI won't be, nobody will be on that network typically. But anyway, so my point is then we boot the boxes up and then the boxes all find themselves, and then I just do a simple walk of the system like this and say they're all up and they're all configured. We can also tail-f on our var log werewolf, and we can see the nodes as they come up, right? Or we can be in an IPMI interface if it's the worst, this is the worst because it's super slow, and we could go to an actual console on a box just like this and go, okay, this box is not, he's supposed to be Rocky 7, but he's Rocky 3. Okay, we need to go fix him in there. So that's how we stand up big clusters of servers like that. But the standardization of the server doesn't come from, this. This is the definition of the server. The standardization comes from the containers that you build. So my container right here that's on all these nodes, so the Rocky 9 Lab 10 Feb 25 is what all of the Rocky nodes are on. And I can actually test that. I can say Rocky list-a grep for container, and I can see, okay, all of my Rocky boxes are on that right container. And if I need to like test Rocky 17 going forward to a new container, I can do that and then just reboot it. Well, Hayes, IPMI tool. So here's, I closed it down, but IPMI tool is the command line version of what you could if you needed to go and do via a web page. Yeah. So the web page is the one-off slow GUI. You would never do that to 4,000 servers. You would maybe go do it once and figure out where the command sets are, and then you would run IPMI tool to do it against the other 3,999 servers or whatever, Yeah, we don't. Hayes, you would pull all your hair out and like cry in a puddle on the floor before you would ever do GUI management of 4,000 devices, right? You'd lose your mind. Not only would you lose your mind, you'd never get it done. You'd get fired, right? So you guys got to learn how to use command line for it's just like, whatever the tooling is, you just have to learn it. And I only learned Rocky in just over the last year because I've been building it so much. I used to use a tool called XCAT. And I tell you guys, like, there's all kinds of things that you might run into your career, but the base Linux and the base understanding of systems is not going to fail you. Like I have had my networking background has helped me so much in my career. There's no amount of like networking that I learned in the early 2000s that isn't still super valid nowadays. Oh yeah, sure. Is there new like methods of calling stuff? Sure. But is ARP and RARP still the same exact thing? Yeah, absolutely. Anybody here ever seen the movie anybody here ever seen the movie Hot Fuzz? It's this perfect comedy that was made by these English guys. Hot Fuzz is so funny. But he gets in a fight with the giant town. I guess we'd call him a okay, I'll get in trouble. We'll call him the special eds guy. Anyways, he's got his little phone thing, and all he can say is yarp and yarp. Yeah, that's all he can say. He doesn't know how to be negative for the guy because he's only ever heard him say yarp. And that's how I feel when I say ARP and RARP, because it's a YARP. And guys, I consider, like, I've actually showed that to my wife. I'm like, Hot Fuzz I consider a perfect film. And the reason I consider it that as a comedy is this. There's nothing that they open in early on in the film. There's no like joke that they don't come back and touch later in that film. And if you didn't catch that, like, I'm sure you probably subconsciously caught it for some of you, but if you go watch it again, literally every joke closes out by the end of the movie. They return to it if it was funny at the first time. They abuse the jokes a few times early on, which I love. Like, he's trying to talk to the guy, but they're all wearing the hazmat suits, so it's like the other dude, and he goes to talk to him. It's such a great movie. Yeah, the same guy that was in Game of Thrones. Yeah, he's what's his name? He's done quite a few things from there. I first saw him in Shaun of the Dead, and I thought that was fantastic. I thought Shaun of the Dead was good, but I didn't think it. I like Hot Fuzz is definitely my favorite of their movies. Shaun of the Dead was fine. It was funny, but the Hot Fuzz was the perfect one for me. Um, yeah, just the jokes and it's just hilarious. All right, anyways. Saw Shaun in theater. I think I saw Shaun of the Dead in theaters too. That was the early 2000s. What's his name? What's that guy? Is his name Peg? What's his last name? Yeah, Wickerman sent up. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm not gonna ruin anything for anybody. Although Hot Fuzz is like almost a 20-year-old movie, I will tell you that movie has stood the test of time. There are things in that movie. Simon, yeah, is it Simon Pegg? That sounds right. I might be wrong about his last name, but yeah, he does some good stuff. I tried to watch Truth Seekers on Amazon Prime. That was funny-ish, but it wasn't like obviously it wasn't there. But Hot Fuzz, excellent movie. Yeah, Yarp and Yarp. But anyways, that's what I think when I say Yarp or ARP. ARP is Address Resolution Protocol, not whatever AARP is. ARP is Address Resolution Protocol and Reverse Address Resolution Protocol. And you can see those. You can see like what a system's talk to, and it's sometimes useful for finding nodes in a cluster. Also, I've seen this. I was telling you guys we went from RHEL 8 to RHEL 9 in a cluster, and we were using GPFS on the back end. And I can't really show you guys it here because I don't have an InfiniBand network. But most of the time, we've got the primary management network, and then we've got the high-speed back-end data network, which is an InfiniBand, like an IB0. And when we went to RHEL 9, it was actually RHEL 9. It was so chatty. The ARP traffic was so chatty over the InfiniBand interface that it brought our GPFS cluster to its knees with only one or two nodes added for testing. And we had to back it off, and we had to modify the way that ARP behaved on the network, specifically on that interface, so that it wouldn't crush our global parallel file system. GPFS was the name of our the file system. He's the Hound in Game of Thrones. Nice. I didn't know. I've never watched Game of Thrones. I've never. I know many people who swear by it, but not that. Oh, also I missed C137. Thanks for the Prime. You could use those here, or you can use those anywhere, and you chose to use it here, so I always appreciate that. If you guys have Primes, you guys can use them. Go find your favorite. Streamer and drop it on them. But yeah, it's free, right? I've heard it's a great book series. My problem with Game of Thrones was I didn't have HBO most of the time it was coming out. I probably could have had it, but I was super busy. The same thing, like I tell people I don't really drink or watch football anymore, and they're like, "You don't like drinking or watching football?" I like both of those things. I just don't have time for them anymore. Like I was telling somebody the other day, like I don't think I've had, like, I'll drink if somebody hands me a beer somewhere, but I don't go out of my way to drink. And they're like, "Well, why'd you stop drinking?" I'm like, "I don't know, probably like 10 years ago. I just didn't have time for it, so I didn't go do it anymore." Maybe even longer than 10 years ago now. I never had any problem with that. I drank a lot when I was younger. Right? Yeah. And then football, like, I mean, I just don't have time. Sunday mornings I stream or, do other things, so I don't. You do weed in basketball though. Glam, you know what's funny about playing basketball? I don't know if you've ever looked at numbers of this, but like basketball is the most. So when I was in the army, I remember I saw this report, and it was like how all soldiers got injured from outside of the like army stuff, and I remember looking at those numbers, and it was like 92% of all like injuries from sports for soldiers that weren't in the field doing stuff. 92% of all injuries were knee injuries that came from basketball or some injury from basketball. Then you say, well, what was the last 8%? All other injuries, save one sport, were the other 3%. It was football, it was frisbee golf, it was all that. And you say, well, so what was that last 5? You said, wait, 92 plus 3, and then you said there's another one. You know where that last 5 came from? It was mostly eye injuries, but also ankle injuries from racquetball. No, soccer was in the 3%. So of soldiers, and maybe it's just because like a lot of American soldiers don't play soccer, maybe, or football, as some people call it. For us, it was 92% of people got injured on the basketball court. 3% were all other sports save one, and that one was eye and ankle injuries in racquetball, on racquetball courts. But like everything else you could think of was just that last 3%. And I remember reading that going, that is absolutely insanity to me. Of all the injuries, like so that's why like there's some units that have a no basketball policy, like you can't play. And you say, really? Yeah, man. When you're in the military, they can tell you no anything as long as it's not your family, and you can't go do it. Actually, they can tell you not to go to your family. They could just put you on detail and not let you leave, right? So it's kind of wild what they do. But let me go put Overleaf back up. If you guys have never seen Overleaf, it's a site where you can build things, but also it's an open source project. That's one of the reasons I show you guys Overleaf is they do have an open source. You can run your own latex editor, and then you can deploy. So if you have, I called it Markdown the other day, and I know latex isn't Markdown, but it's one of these things where it's just another formatting tool for you to figure out, just like any of the Markdown type languages, right? Or whatever type of marking up, markup, markdown, whatever. But the point is, it can generate things for you, and some people use it for resumes and stuff. There's actually some really cool stuff you can do with it. But you can run it locally on your system and just send it stuff, and it'll publish your papers for you. Like publish them and make them look nice and do whatever you need. So anyways, I like Overleaf. I've seen some really good presentations out of it in the academic space. So don't sleep on it, as they like to say. It's a pretty good tool. Got a buddy who's doing MI right now, and they're trying to get into law school. He said he just runs and hits the gym. Mark up your walls with latex paint. Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, mostly all I did in the Army was, I didn't even own a TV when I was in the Army. All I did was lift weights, run, and chase girls. So that's all I did. I actually had a picture I sent to my brothers. I had these pictures from the day I got back from Iraq. And one of my brothers was like, man, you're skinny. You're like 190 in that picture. And I was like, I was 173. I was so light in those pictures. Like, I came back from Iraq, I was like skin and bones. So it was wild. Glammy said, looking at stats right now for not specific military, for men's sports, and it's football, then wrestling, then soccer, then basketball for ACLs. Yeah, I train in a sport that probably has the most ACL tears per person doing it than probably any other sport. But it's such a small sport that most people would never know. But it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been doing that for 22 years. And, man, it's like everybody's like, oh, why doesn't our gym do more leg locks and this and this and this? And then you go, okay, we'll do leg locks for a year. We'll work leg locks for a year. And everybody's limping. And everybody's wondering why. It's like, well, but we were all being careful. And it's like, yeah, but you don't really get a chance, man. When somebody turns your heel out, yeah, take Crease. I'm a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been a black belt for 5 years. Yep. I've been doing it for 22 years. Yep. Yeah, I got my black belt on July 11th of 2020. Yep. Yeah, I grapple. Yeah, I don't have great cardio, but I can lay on top of people pretty well. I also have I tell people I'm not very good at jiu-jitsu. I just have so many tricks and traps. and people are like thinking they're beating me, and all of a sudden they realize they're in one of my traps, and I'm like, oh, this is so bad for you. And you're like, sometimes they'll be on top of me, and then they fall into it, and they go, ah, geez, now I'm screwed. And I'm like, I know this is terrible. I actually found out, we were talking the other day about like ticks that you have and like things that you don't know. We were talking about this in our on Saturday night. We did like interviews on the server for people that wanted to practice getting ready for taking an interview or whatever, because some people don't realize how they talk. Some people don't realize the ticks that they have. And one of my buddies a few years back, I was still a brown belt when this happened, so it was like 2019 or something. But I was doing something. I think I was going to a Kimura from top, and he said, "Oh shit," and I go, "Oh, I know, right? This is terrible." And but terrible for him, not terrible for me. And I didn't realize I was doing that. And then he and I laughed about it, and I realized, like, when I wrestle, if somebody says like "oh shit" or something, and they feel bad about the position they're in, I didn't realize that I'm like, "Oh yeah, right." Like I agree with them. Not terrible for me; it's terrible for them. But I'm like, oh, but this is going to be over soon, so just go to sleep or whatever. But anyways, yeah, like I play leg attacks, but it's like, it's funny if you watch gyms that play a lot of leg attacks, and they're like, oh, leg attacks are safe, but literally everybody has like anaconda braces on their knees, and they're all jacked up and shit. It's kind of funny. Like, it's not post hoc ergo propter hoc. It's actually cause and effect, right? It's actual, like, you guys do leg attacks all the time, therefore even a small number get hurt, but it's only one shot, man. You can only get hurt once like that before you're limping, But anyways, yeah, it's kind of interesting. Meaning grip strength is contend with body degraded. Yeah. I'm not nearly as good at grip strength as I used to be when I was younger. Yeah, 43, and I wrestle mostly in the mornings against like cops and firefighters that are in their 20s and 30s, and it's wild, but yeah. Takrees, yeah. The Chat GPT thing, I know that's getting a lot of people not in trouble, but I was joking about the other day. The reason they're catching you guys is you're getting the same answers and that they used when they were generating their questions, right? Like they did that. But I know we had one of our guys just go. Leith just went and took an interview today, so hopefully that went well for him. He sounded like he was getting done with it, so he's probably going to decompress a little bit. But yeah, we do that on Saturday nights. Let's see, hold on, I'll pull this up for anybody that wants to see. I didn't make a new one yet, but it should be. If you come up here to like events, there's a middle of the week course study group. There's a bash study group. This is the one I was telling you guys. This one's good. This one's really growing and blowing up, and there's little challenges and stuff that you guys can do, or if you want to like look at scripts and stuff. Then we got our Linux sysadmin course and security engineering course, and then writer's room. I haven't made a new one for this week, but we'll see how the time goes if we're going to do more interviews. But if you guys do hop in the server and you do want to see what we did on the interviews, this was what we did. Here was the posting. There was actual job posting. So it was like, this was the job you were going for if you came in to do the interviews with me. It was do all the Linux services, junior Linux administrator. These are the things that I want you, these are what you're going to do, job description, and here were the key responsibilities. So I made this all up, but it's mostly things that I took off of, I went and looked at real jobs, and then I kind of like modified them for us. But then it's experience with Linux is a plus, and network and security experience is a plus. And then here's the questions that I asked. I had the technical questions, I had the troubleshooting questions, the operations questions, and the personality questions. And I just had you guys, it was 10 minutes on the hot seat. I started a little timer like I do, and then you guys went through and, you guys answered the questions as best you could. I keep getting people with this one. I don't mean to. Like, again, none of my questions are there to, like, trip you up, but this is the one I keep getting people with. What are the special variables in Bash? Can you name a few of them, and how would you use them? Well, this is the one. So let's just say I was on a box here. Let's go back to, where's he at? Well, screw it. SH to a hammer 25. Who cares? Okay. So here's hammer 25, right? Just some server, right? And It's even no. So that's an environmental variable. Path and shell. These are environmental variables. They're not actually special variables. I can modify them. So I can do this one, and it's like, what is that one? Well, if I psef grep for 13828, that is my bash shell that I'm in. So echo $sign is the PID of the program that's being executed right now. So I could start to test these, right? I can go over to like temp, and I could make let's just touch, var test.sh, right? And then vi my var test.sh, and in here I'll just add a little shebang at the top, bin bash, and I'll say echo, this is my PID of this system, or of this program, right? And that would be $sign. So if I were to do now chmod 755 my var test, then what I could do is I could say something like this. I can go echo $sign, and that's this one, and then I run var test, and oops, oh, what did I do there? Somebody fix me. Oh, echo. So I echo this, and there's my process, and then I go here and I run it, and that's the PID of the program that I'm in, right? But then I've got these other variables. I could say echo, this is the name. Oh, I could do it on the same line too if we cared, but I could say this is the name of the program I'm running. Something like this. And that would be echo $0, right? And then I can say, okay, this is the current shell that I'm in, and this is this thing running. Oh, yeah. And so that was how it was called. Now, I could go in here, and if I had... so there's a whole bunch of special variables, right? And the $, 0, 1, 2, 3, all the command line arguments. The $question mark, which is one we use often. So this one is like a good one I like. So let's say I do a systemctl status on SSHD, and that's running. And then I do a systemctl status, or actually let's do this a little bit different. Let's do a psef grep for SSHD. Okay, found it. Oh, and we're going to grep like this for a specific reason, just for now. All right, we see that running. And what we don't see running is HTTPD, right? Or HTTP. Oh, I do have it running on this box. Oh, geez. All right. So then now, I don't think $. Yeah, I don't think it does either. Yeah. Number of lines reads from standard in. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. I forgot that I had. Apparently, I do have it running because this is the one I did the lab on. I think. Yeah. So I think this is the one I did the lab on the other day, or maybe somebody else is using it for the lab. So it does have HTTPD running. But if I stopped HTTPD, right, then now I would not have that, and I would have this. Boom. So that's what I want to see. So let's watch this real quick. Let's say, okay, when I looked at SSH, and then I did an echo $, question mark, I got a 0. And when I looked for HTTP, and I check later, it's a 1. So now I have an ability right here to basically, if I was a human looking at this machine right now, and I did this, I would know that SSH was running. But if I was running a script to know that this output was not there, I would use, or was there, I would use this, and now 0 becomes true for me, logically, that SSH is running. And down here, as a human, I would see that there's no output for this, therefore, we're good. But since grep didn't find anything, grep exited with a 1, and this would become analogous to a fail, or something not running. So I can use this in my scripts. I actually do use this in my scripts to see if certain services are running on a box or not. Yeah. So you might do a $at first to validate that all the command line arguments are there, and if not, you just dump a usage in people's faces. This is a very common thing. This is a thing like Sending Grounds does a lot. If you don't have all the command line parameters that you expect, you don't even try to execute. You just drop into a function that says, hey, here is the usage. It's kind of like flicking them on the forehead. Hey, dummy, here you go. And it looks real nice. Yeah, Sending Ground. If you guys ever see Sending Grounds when he streams, his stuff is always really good because that's what he does professionally. He literally is a Bash programmer. He's not like like me, who I'm an engineer who will use whatever tool to get something done. But you would not call me a Bash engineer by any not even kind of. But will I use Bash to do my engineering? Absolutely. And I'll reference the things I need to build the stuff that I need. But anyways, my point is his stuff is super clean because it's really nice. So. $at is what Perl uses. That's probably right. Hayes, I used to do most of my like stuff that I gave to other users in Perl back in the day because Perl was my jam. Guys, I cut my teeth on PERL. That was how I learned PERL. Yeah, that's how I learned to code anything, really, was in Perl. So, yeah. Yeah, I only got out of Perl in about 2016 because nobody else was really knew it, and me and the one other senior guy, I've told you guys this, me and the one other senior guy on our team, we were like, hey, what are we going to do for these junior guys? They know Bash, and most of them at least have a grasp of Ansible, and he and I were like, all right, let's go use Ansible more. So he and I started, and actually my brother John was a big part of the decision too, my younger brother, the guy who runs OpenShift over there for him. We ended up implementing Ansible for our team. Then we ended up implementing AWX for all the teams. Then we ended up paying Red Hat for Tower, which was really good. They use a lot, and that's AAP now. But yeah, we ran all that, me and my brother. Yeah, Perl was fine. I got a little book here, Programming Perl, by Michael Wall and Michael Christensen and Larry Wall. That's what it is. Michael Christensen and Larry Wall, I think. And yeah, it's a good little book. It's a good reference book. I'll pull it out every now and then when I want to look up something. But it's a big blue book called Programming Perl. Some of you guys have seen that before. And so the Python thing, I actually have a fair amount of engineers I work with that have moved all their Perl to Python as well. Yep. I can do Python I can do Python stuff like scripts, but I don't like program in Python by any stretch. I guess that would be the same thing kind of like with me and Bash too. I wouldn't call myself a programmer. I can do quick and dirty stuff and I can make it work. Yeah, Tom Christian. Oh, you're right. It's Tom Christensen and Larry Wall. That's right. Is that, or am I thinking the wrong name? Anyways, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, and I mostly used Perl instead of sed as well. Like even now to this day, if it's not like a sed IE of just like one set of values through a file, I have to go look up how to use sed. I am not, like, sed is not my buddy. I know more awk than I do sed. And Randall Schwartz. Oh, yeah, there's probably other guys. I could pull the book up. But anyways, this was what we were questioning the lessons and stuff. Hold on. This is the actual book. Oh, there it is. Yeah, you're right. Larry Wall and Randall Schwartz. I thought it was... Huh. Look at that. I gotta go look at my book now. Hold on, guys. I got a phone call coming in. Hold on. That person did not want to talk to me very much. Well, I mean, in that they were not on the phone when I said hello. All right. Hayes, you were friends with Randall? Nice. Man, why do I have a different name in my head? I mean, I believe that's who wrote it. I just... Huh. Interesting. I got the book right in the other room. I should go pull it up. Monospace Mentor, you wrote a 200-page course on Perl. Nice. Tom might have written the Perl cookbook. Let me go. Let me go grab it. Hold on. Let me go grab my book. I have edition 5. 1 second. Hold on, guys. Hold on. Let me turn on my camera. Transition it over. All right. So this is my programming Perl book, right? You guys see that? My programming Perl. And this is weird. Guys, I swear it says right here, Larry Wall, Tom Christensen, and John Orwant. However, this is 3rd revised edition. So this may have come up later. You see that? So, I mean, yeah, I have no doubt that Randall wrote the original one. In fact, they mention him right here multiple times. I do love this book, guys. This is like a beat up old from like years and years ago. Like it even has my name on the spine because I used to bring it to college. When I brought books to college, I would write my name on the spine so that I knew I would get my book back. Yeah, it said right here, Learning Perl for sure too. Oh yeah. Like I would never have called myself great at Perl, but I was okay at it. I did enough Perl to be okay at it. It's like everything. I do enough to be okay at it, but I focus on the stability of systems mostly. That's my engineering jam, if you will. And one thing I've always been called on for is to build all the systems the same way, which is you could do that with any tool. You just have to be consistent and kind of probably a bit neurotic. Like being neurotic probably helps me to do this stuff well. So Hayes, you were once the top 10 saints at Perl Monks. Nice. I was on Perl Monks, but I didn't really do anything with it. I just looked in the forums and referenced things, and some of you guys know that was like an early that was like an early back before Stack Overflow and stuff, or before Stack Overflow was as popular. Lots of little snippets and short one-liners and all that dirty stuff. Because Perl, for all the things I like about it, one of the things that's true about it is it can be the dirtiest shorthand language that any of you have ever seen. And it's like it can be so dirty in shorthand that nobody can ever support the code again. It's that old joke of when I wrote this, only myself and God knew how it was written or how it worked, and now only he knows. Like that's like this old joke with programming. But I've seen Perl regex that like nobody's ever gonna try to sit around and untangle. Like it's just like oh brother, what is that? It's just messy. So. Yeah, Hayes, you were doing Stack Overflow before Stack Overflow. Hey, I saw a thing the other day, Hayes. I mean, maybe this is you can think, at least I outlived it. I saw a thing when the whole Chat GPT thing blew up a few years back, and now everybody uses Chat GPT and Copilot, and I'm just using Chat GPT as a generic AI to help me code. I saw a thing that 90% of traffic from Stack Overflow dropped off. I don't either, Glam, but I get that. It's funny, like when I write things, like apparently I have something turned on. I didn't think I had anything turned on until yesterday. I was in here, and when I was trying to write stuff, it was actually trying to fix things for me. Like it was trying to. Yeah, like look, as a sanity, like it's trying to say as a sanity check, and I didn't turn anything like that on that I know of. I just have my normal old plugins that I've always had here. I feel like in newer versions of like this is VS Code, like some of that stuff just got turned on. Oh, is that an Ansible plugin? Yeah, well, what the hell was that doing? It looked like it was trying to do something else too. But anyway, so this is my in my home lab when I want to push things up. I use VS Code just to practice it. Most of you guys know I'm mostly doing stuff in VI, but because of the labs that I have written for everybody in Killer Coda, I do use VS Code for this. And then this is the one I have to finish today. This is the one that I have to finish for the guys, the Enterprise Ansible patching. And then once I'm done with that, I can record Unit 5. So that's the last thing I have to do. And I have most of it here. I just need to. We're pulling down this HPC deploy, and when we pull it down, all of these patch, pre-check, reboot, and server validation, and also app validation, I have to go write those real quick. So I have the structure of them. I just have to go write. I've just been lazy. All my stuff's in GitHub. Yeah, I have stuff on GitHub for. So. The Prolog labs are probably my biggest one because this is all the labs in Killer Coda. And by the way, you guys can publish labs on Killer Coda anytime. Like if you've never done it, it's free. You can just build labs and teach people how to do stuff. Pretty easy. You get them in a shell and then do whatever. And then my HPC deploy is just an Ansible playbook, and this is the one that I'm updating with those additional roles. See there, I haven't pushed this yet, but then we'll have all this and. It'll be, then I just got to finish out the lab, which the lab is just the steps in the test to validate that everything worked. So that's my next part. How does your own research dumb us down? Oh, I missed some things. I didn't see whatever you guys were talking about, but for sure, yeah. My GitHub guys, I don't use GitHub like normal people do. I just use it to throw stuff up there. There is some stuff up there that I wrote years ago that aren't really being used, but like stream setup we still use. That's our Bastion deploy stuff. So I do have a fair amount of stuff there, and that has to be modernized. I'm going to modernize that for Rocky 9, and then that'll be useful to some people again. But yeah, and you see, I'm not not the guy that just sits around and writes shit all the time, but. Because that's not really what my career entails. My career is around building servers and making them all the same. So, oh well. How's Ranger doing? Look at Ranger Dog down there. Oh, hard to stand up and turn around and lay back down in bed. Is there a cool spot on the bed? I'll take it. That's Ranger. It's 73 degrees downstairs for that dog. Perfectly 73 degrees. He's a pretty good dog, though. Pretty good dog. Tim Towdy, there's more than one way to do it. That's what it says on the front of this book. Oh, it just says there's more than one way to do it on the front. But then the acronym inside is Tim Towdy. Does anybody know when the last time they updated? Anybody know when the last time they updated Pearl was? I don't think there's been a major release for a long time. Now I'm looking at Perl functions by category. Scalar manipulation. Chomp, chop. This will be a fun one since you guys were all Perl guys. What's the difference between chomp and chop? Does anybody know that without Googling it? I know that without Googling it. That's funny. What's the difference between a chomp and a chop? And what's the difference between that and a champ? Champ is a totally different word. Yeah, Glam, I made all those little the art for all that. Yeah. One eats all, the only eats white space. That is true. That's true. But have you guys ever heard somebody say they're chomping at the bit? Do you know that you can't chomp at a bit? You can only champ at a bit. And champ isn't a Perl command. Only chomp and chop are. But monospace is exactly right. One, if you keep chopping the end off a variable, you will get less and less of that variable down to nothing. But if you chomp at it, it will only eat the white space or the new line character at the end. So that's kind of nice. Now I'm horsing around. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. And then do you guys know why it's important if you're running with a horse and they say the horse has gotten the bit in its teeth? Does anybody know why that's important? What's the danger of the horse got the bit in its teeth? Yeah, I'm definitely horsing around, but yeah, people say, "Oh, they were chomping at the bit," and you're like, "No, they weren't. They were champing at the bit." It doesn't hurt that my name is Champagne, so maybe that's how I know that. Oh, it spelled my name wrong. Fucking terrible. But it is part of my name, right? Champing. And the reason I learned the difference for that is there's a riddle in a book that I'll never forget the riddle contest between Bilbo and Gollum. In fact, I still know most all the riddles. But the one is 30 white horses on a red hill. First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still. That's one of the smaller ones. Horses chomp. Yeah, horses will chomp you, but they will champ it a bit. If they get the bit in their teeth, the way that a bit controls a horse is by being up against the sides of its mouth. And you only control a horse through, in that method, through pain compliance. So if they can ever get the bit up into their teeth, you don't control the horse anymore. So if a horse is like run away or out of control and wants to run, and you don't have the bit back against its basically like the inner um, um, angle of its jaw there, it will run wild and do whatever it wants because you can't control it anymore. So, yeah, yeah. And I also really like the this thing all things devours birds, beasts, trees, flowers. Right? If you guys remember that one. Really sounds like somebody's pulling into my house right now. I don't think anybody's here. Yeah, so this is what we're doing here. We're just kind of making sure everything's good. I do need to get into these and finish the lab, and then probably tonight I'll record Unit 5, so we have the recording up. Um, and then the other thing I really kind of want to do is, I'm gonna start recording these again. So when I recorded all of our Linux sysadmin course, I did it before the guys had done this awesome book. So I'll probably re-record it with the book involved. And then also, I have never recorded just me doing our Killer Coda sessions. So I've never done like individual recordings of any one of these. So, you go to Killer Coda. That's a little bright. And you go to our sessions over here. I've never just recorded, like, just to record it. I've done it on stream like a million times, but I've never just said, okay, here is lab 1. Let's go through lab 1, also while having the book open, and just doing all of the work through the different labs, right? If you guys have never seen Killer Coda, this is it. It's just a little shell that it drops you in, and then it just has you look around the system. Like, here's our Ubuntu 2404. We're on long-term support. They recently moved off of Ubuntu 20 in the labs, and then we had to go through and we had to check all of these and make sure they still worked. Dragna, you want to see our this? You want to see this? Oh, or are you talking about a draw.io that I have actually hosted up in the GitHub? You're talking about a specific one over here? Yeah, I think I had one back in the day. I don't know if I still... If you're talking about this is easy. I can share this with you guys. Here. There's one on GitHub. Let me go look. Hold on. I don't know which one it would be under. Is it under, like, the benchmarks? I don't remember where I put it. Stream setup, HPC deployed. I don't know where I would have put it, Dragnov. Like I have one somewhere, but I don't remember where it is. I'd have to go find it. And if I did do it, I probably just did it to show something to somebody. I probably didn't do it for real. Let's go see if it's in Ansible code somewhere. This is like bullshit Ansible stuff I did. I haven't updated this in years. This is just old stuff I've built. So maybe my stream deploy? Oh, draw.io. Is this not I thought you could take this whole thing. That's not still true. And I thought you could open that and draw that IO. Loading. I don't know if I've ever, I don't think I've used this in a long time. Can we open from, oh, open from GitHub. Oh. I wonder if I have to authorize the app. I wonder if, oh, and also there's the whole, back when I probably wrote this, it was all, back then it was master, and now it's probably main. So there's probably some changes that had to happen there too. Let's authorize it. I might have to do a thing. And then, where is that? Was it, stream setup? Yeah, see, so back when it was, I think this was our, oh, I don't know what I was doing with that. I was probably just messing around. So yeah, probably there's no real diagram of that. But I've drawn out the diagram. Like I've drawn for you guys how bastions work. If you're like, hey, Scott, I just want to see a bastion diagram. Hold on. I've drawn for you guys how bastion systems work. Hold on. Unit 4 should have. So bastions, well, funny enough, I see that I didn't draw a very good drawing of it there. Hold on. I definitely have one in Excalidraw. Me. Shoot. Let's open. Load from a file. Bastion drawing. Oh yeah, no, that's not right. That's somebody else. Somebody else gave me that one. Hold on. Open. Load. I know I have a dungeon. Dungeon would show it too. But I think I have my bastion. Yeah, so this is how. I don't know why I didn't include this in our drawing. I need to go put that in the. I don't know why I didn't put this in the. Hold on a second here. This is embarrassing. Why didn't I put this in? In our week 4 bastions. Duplicate slide. That's embarrassing. I had this whole thing set up. I could have shown this the other day too. Well, again, I got to re-record all this crap, but yeah, logical design of how we connect in, users jailed down, and then all the other resources exist past this location. Yep. Oh, I'm using the wrong one. There we go. All right, get out of there. Get out of there. No. Anyways, that's how my bastions work, if you're wondering. Works like this. Keep bashing till there's no output. Can you find $5 lunch meat and 2 veggies on a roll? Yeah. I forget where I was at here, but all this was just to show you guys that we have. I've got this done. So security engineering unit 5, that part's done. I just got to finish up the last of the lab setup here, which I'll be writing here in a little bit. and then we'll kind of go from there. You want the most for your Bastion? Nice. Yeah, I've used Bastions a few times. I mean, I've built them a lot for government systems and some colleges that I've worked for. Again, I always work for Redline, but then they like loan me out to different people for longer time. Like the one engagement was a year, sometimes only for shorter amounts of time, sometimes just for simple build stuff. Just depends what people need me for. That's funny. Let's take a break. Go walk around. Actually, I need to probably grab some food, but let's do. Where's my hourglass at? Let's say take break. We'll do 12 minutes because I'm gonna go make some food real quick. But yeah, let's hang out a little bit. You Bastion. Ranger needs the doggo treat while they're on break. I'll give him a treat. Yeah, I'll give Ranger a treat. We can leave it on Ranger Cam if you guys want to watch him eat. He'll definitely go sit over there and eat. All right. Start my little timer. All right, I'll give Ranger a treat. Alright guys, freaking Ranger. I gave him a treat and he ate it on the other carpet, so you guys can watch him. That's what Ranger does sometimes. Just doesn't cooperate because he's so old. And then if you saw him stand there just watching something, he was watching me. Because he's not playing game. Oh, he's very happy. He doesn't always do stuff on that black carpet because it's more slick. He has this other carpet that he likes. So, he's a good dog though. He's Ranger. I'm eating chicken fried rice. My wife gets these little frozen, pretty good, just chicken and rice. So, still on break. Since Ranger's not there, we'll go back to our little rotating camera. Okay, Kona, Miller time, yeah. Mostly blue monsters. So stuff I can't do on stream, but I can do while co-working, is I've got to grade all my college stuff. I can't show you guys that, obviously, FERPA and all that good stuff. Also, just good manners. So I got to grade that because we're at the end of our quarter. Quarter ended last night, or semester, whatever. It doesn't really matter what you call it at my college because they're just 8-week little sessions. Then I got a week off. Normally I don't get a week off. I've got a week off. May 5th, so the next week, that's when I start my college classes that I'm going to, and also when we start the new courses for where I teach. So the reason I bring that all up is I'm going to start having sessions on. They're going to be in a voice channel. Probably do. So we're going to start them on May. Start them this Sunday, and they'll go at. I'll probably do them like the last couple hours of the night, so maybe like 7:30 to 9:30. 2-hour study session on research. So 2-hour. Let's call it research. 2 hours. So there's Scholar, Google, and also Zotero, which I like to use. And all right, so we'll work on that. I'll show you guys how to use that stuff. And then also I have to be getting ready for my dissertation. I have about 60 pages written on one topic, but I don't know if I'm going to stick with that topic. Oh, and yes, I did mean 60 pages. Weekly, every Sunday we'll do that. Here we'll do every other Sunday for now, and then maybe we'll move it up in the future. I'll show you guys kind of how that stuff works. So we'll have that set up in the future. And then I may do those on Sunday nights. I may do those as I may stream those as well for people that kind of want to learn how to set up your own research and how to get involved with that and start it if you don't do it now. So, all right, I'm gonna finish up my little fried rice here. Let me figure out what we're working on next. We don't work too hard on the co-working days. I don't know why Ranger went back outside after his treat. I thought I'd be sitting down there hanging out. I gotta check a couple things while we're sitting here. All right, I've eaten all my chicken fried rice, which is pretty good. Also, thanks for the follow. Hopefully this stuff is useful to you. We are probably going to start working on, well, I'm co-working, so I'm working on some other stuff in these other windows. Those things all look good. Interesting. I'm looking at some system messages over on our system, so that's always fun. Okay, that looks good, so I don't need to watch that right now. I'll link Discord for you guys. Best place, if you do hop in the Discord for anybody that's starting out, is you go down here to beginner start here. This has a lot of our information around the course. Also, the other thing that's I probably need to link this in the chat. Is I probably need to link both of these books. But these are the places to go if like you want to do Linux systems administration. This is right here. I'll link that to you guys. The guys put this book together. They did a really excellent job. I think it's got a couple last little things, but you guys can use it still online. And then this is the other book. And the books, of course, are free. Those are places for you guys to go, and then you look at this stuff and you go, okay, well, how does this all work? And how do I work with the other guys? And then that's where we have, you know, the voice channels where you can go in and talk to people. In the project section, you can find the courses we're running it. We've recently moved the, there's some discussion aspects, like you have to actually sit around and talk with people in a discussion forum. We've recently just moved over to these discussion threads. So we wanted to see if the forum posts would work well inside of Discord, so we just moved to that. So yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it really, if anybody that joins our Discord, you guys can always ask questions. The bot will help you out down there. The bot will also talk trash to you, so that's kind of funny. But then there's just kind of a lot of stuff going on. There's a lot of events coming up. I always tell people, check the events tab, because there's a lot of free. Everything that we do in Discord is free. So there's nothing I charge you for in Discord. There is a book that you can pay for, but that's something you have to go find, right? Like I tell you guys all the time, that's like, after you do this and find out, hey, I do like Linux, then you go spend some money. But you don't have to do that up front. All the stuff we do, all the stuff we try to show you guys to get into the industry, that's for you guys, right? That's the goal of our group, is to get you guys into doing this stuff professionally. You know, from a lot of us have amateur backgrounds, and then we want to be professionals in this space. So all that stuff is actually our webpage right here. Let's see if it's all working. Should be good. Ah, damn it. Sometimes it does that. I gotta go fix that cache. Hold on. There it is. There's our website. Just takes a few seconds. And then mostly I'm just co-working right now, so I'm not working too hard. I'm doing other stuff while I'm letting the system spin over there. Actually, we move these out of the way for now. Don't need it. I need this. Where's he at? There. Let that run. So just things going on in the screen for you guys to look at and talk about, talk shop about, that kind of stuff. Actually, it looks like I'm getting up around 2 hours and 15 minutes. What I might do, I'm trying to get a few hours a day of streaming in, but what I'll probably do is I'll come on later today and I'll record our session 5. I have everything already. Record session 5, send it up to the guys. That's for the security engineering course, and then maybe I'll hop on and we'll just hang out a little bit and work on stuff. So yeah, I'll probably call this here. Let's go raid somebody. I got somebody in mind to raid. We'll go raid over to some scary games. I like raiding to Rossberger when he's doing stuff. So we'll go raid over there. And then what's he playing? Yeah, he's playing a game called Post Trauma, which looks kind of like one of these little creepy games. It's still fun. So I appreciate you guys all coming. And for you guys on YouTube, feel free to always, the most persistent way to hang out with us is always down in our Discord. So join there, hang out, talk shop with, like, we have almost 4,000 people in there now. It's kind of wild. But, you know, everybody's trying to get better at Linux and systems engineering. So we'll do that. All right. For the rest of you guys, I will see you guys later. Take care.